Hello, thanks very much to the BC for having me here today. I'm another Northeast immigrant, so maybe there's going to be some controversy with that if we keep on coming further down south. Just before we start, I want to have a little bit of audience participation. Can you all raise your hands, please, if you agree with this statement? Good. Brilliant. Can you all raise your hands if you believe with this statement? You're in the right place. If you think you can, or if you think you can't, you're right. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself. As you said there, a farm in Aberdeenshire. I'm a father and I'm a husband. I'm a fourth-generation farmer in a first-generation business. I started my business in 2016, completely separate from my original family's business. This year we'll bull around 250 spring calf and suckler cows and heifers on around 650 acres. That land is split between owned, tenanted and contract farmed. Around about 50 of those cows are actually leased. I've had a flexible deal with a former employer where I leased his herd. Originally it was 120 cows, and I've bought my way into the herd over the last few years, and it's down to 50. Of those cows, they're split between pedigree Aberdeen Angus and stabiliser, commercial cows as well, and we've got a small but expanding flock of Clyn ewes. I don't know if I pronounced that right to the Welsh people. We've finished steers, bulls and heifers. We store cattle, and as part of the pedigree business, we're now selling breeding heifers and bulls private off farm. We're also a QMS monitor farm, which started last year, so lots of cool things coming from there. So just another few things. I'm so passionate about this industry and how we adapt and how we overcome all the challenges that we're facing. I've had a number of different roles throughout my career up till now. I've been involved with the Scottish Association of Young Farmers, as a former director of the Aberdeen Angus Society, as a rural leader a couple of years ago, and obviously a part of the Monitor Farm benchmarking group. I'm really keen to continue and broaden my horizons. I do have something in common with some of the professors here, although it doesn't really look like it. I also have something in common with 4-year-olds and the Backstreet Boys. I'd really like to know why. So, after a period of time working in the industry, I decided to start on my own. I was made redundant from my farm manager role, and I thought, you know what, let's go for it. It was a tough time in 2016 in the industry. There was around about 1,000 cows leaving my small parish alone, and it was doom and gloom. Everyone was struggling, and it wasn't looking good. So I thought that was a perfect time to start. I just returned from a trip in New Zealand, funded through the Aberdeen Angus Cattle Society, where I'd seen their low-input herd up in the hills, just doing what they do, no messing around. And I was so inspired by that. So I quickly realised that if I was going to obtain bank funding, I had no savings, I had no permanent land, nothing behind me. I had to be different. I had to come up with a new concept that was going to be appealing to them. So, the UK herd at the time, and I would say still is just really over-mechanised, really overstaffed, to be honest, and it's under-efficient. So this is a little bit of a selection, a little snapshot of the beef price around the world at the turn of the year there. British beef is amongst the most expensive in the world. Why can't we make that work? I saw an article a few weeks ago calling for £5.30 a kilo to ensure profitability in the industry. We can't just keep demanding more money. We need to work out a way of retaining that money. I'm not advocating cheaper beef for any matter of means, but it's certainly not the main factor that affects profitability. So, let's look at the sector. According to the 2022 QMS enterprise profitability, only 44% of non-LFA suckler herds actually recorded a positive net margin, and that's including a headage payment of around £95 per calf. In the bottom third of producers, only 69% of those cows calve within 9 weeks. Back in 2016, when I started my business, according to the HDB, the average English spring suckler herd net margin was minus £114.76 per cow. There's a huge gap between the top and the bottom. And in that same analysis, 53% of herds calved at 2, and only 85 calves were weaned per 100 cows to the bull, with an average calving spread of 15 weeks. In the QMS report, the top third producers reared 48 kilos more live weight per cow than average. Think how much value is in there, mainly due to higher in-calf rates and lower mortality. In general, it just goes without saying, more profitable operations with a tighter calving period, more cows in calf, lower fixed costs, lower replacement costs, lower labour costs, and lower depreciation. They also had a higher output per hectare due to higher stocking rate, lower mortality, and greater maternal efficiency. It isn't rocket science. In nearly every QMS analysis, the more profitable operations had lower emissions due to the aforementioned reasons. There's a close correlation between greater business efficiency, net margin, and lower emissions. Simple. Got to ask the question, is there room for improvement? So, as I said, the issues that we've faced in 2016 when I started are still the same today. So I became very, very KPI focused, and that's where I am today. This is my ethos, lean and mean, the business, but not the cows. I like fat cows. So once you get to that point, you need to start thinking about, well, where do you go from here? A key mindset that you hear about when it comes to building a low input system is you need to build the system first and then the cow herd. But before you build the system, you need to understand the farm. So we farm across 3 different units, and they're all completely different. Firstly, we have an upland farm, which is tenanted, runs to around about 1,000 feet. We have very little buildings, and we've got great shelter. So it just lends itself perfectly to an outdoor suckler herd, spring calving suckler herd. We then also contract farm a lower ground farm, where our stabilizer herd lives. It doesn't always lend itself very well to arable land, although it's in a good area. So again, it lends itself well to a suckler herd. We then have our low ground farm, where I was brought up, which is an absolute grass hub. It's just perfect for finishing cattle. So it lends itself to a system where the calves are born in the uplands and they're finished down below. So now that you know the farm and you want to design the system, what does that system need to look like? So first and foremost, it needs to be profitable. That goes without saying. But I need it to be profitable in the good times and in the bad. Because I don't care if Vladimir Putin invades Ukraine. I still need to make a profit. Again, being a young person growing a business, I need it to have the minimum amount of capital required to start. I don't need to have to buy 10 different tractors to do 10 different jobs. I need it to be simple. It needs to be scalable as well, because I want to grow my business. I want to benefit from economies of scale. So if I have a business opportunity that comes up, I don't need to have to invest great sums of money in order to take that opportunity. It needs to be easy to manage as well, because suckler cows are renowned for being particularly bad with cash flow. It also needs to be able to improve the habitats and biodiversity. It needs to improve soil health. It needs to be resilient. It needs to be simple, because I enjoy my work and I want to have an easy life. So if you design the perfect system, how do you design the perfect cow herd? So for me, it's vitally important that they're easy calving. They need to have good mothering ability, and need to be fertile. The first 2 points there are all linked to cost, labour cost. And labour cost is a huge cost in suckler cows. For instance, we run about 160 cows per labour unit, and I think the industry standard would be more like 100. Fertility, again, a huge, huge factor when it comes to profitability of the herd, but also its carbon footprint. Longevity reduces replacement costs. Our oldest cow, is 16 years old. Need to be structurally sound, docile, resilient, and healthy. All these things contribute to a good bottom line. And vitally, they need to have the ability to convert low-quality forage into high-value product. That's the key to suckler cows. It's upcycling. And finally, something that gets overlooked in a low-input system. They still need to produce a saleable and in-demand carcass, and needs to meet carcass spec. Another few points. You need to invest in flesh, not metal. You need to get away from this heavily mechanized system where everyone has bedding machines, everyone needs, mixer wagons, you need to have a tractor in each. And before you know it, you've got £400,000 worth of kit to service a 100-cow herd. It just doesn't stack up. You need to streamline. Stop wasting time. Dehorning. You need to look at pole genetics. Foot trimming. Why would you bother? Call them out. Stop wasting time. Reduce labour requirement and economies of scale. These things, economies of scale is like gravity. It's unavoidable. It's a business fact. It's not just the biggest is the best, but it's economies of scale, and a well-managed business is completely unavoidable. If you get the basics right, you're halfway there. You can only control the things that you control. Like I said at the start, the beef price is irrelevant. You can only control your costs. And again, utilize data. We've heard about that all today. I don't need to go into that any further. But as I said earlier, KPIs, constant pursuit of improvement. It's the future. This is my view in simplicity. It looks like a lot of work. Some of these things you'll hear about soon seems like a lot of work, a lot of data entry, a lot of messing around, but it makes your life simpler. Going into my system, we'll start with calving season because it's my favourite season. All our cows and heifers calve outside in one mob. One mob is easy to check. Takes the same time to check 10 cows it takes to check 1,000. Keep all the cows in one place. Very little intervention required as well. Calving ease, like I said, it's crucial. All the cows are allocated bulling groups in advance of calving season, and that means as a cow calves, I can tag the calf, record all the data, and take her to where she needs to be, and I build up my management groups as we go. And that saves any unnecessary handling, any injuries, or anything like that. We feed our cows at grass silage, which helps us manage their intakes, and it allows us to facilitate daytime calving. We feed our cows at night to facilitate that. This is some data I've recorded over a number of years. I recorded every single birth and what time of day it was born with my nighttime calving, nighttime feeding even. Feed around 7 p.m. and there's a huge spike first thing in the morning, and then it reduces in the evening. For us calving outside, this is crucial because we don't want to check cows at night. We don't want to be chasing cows and don't want to be calving cows at midnight and beyond. We also get some tough weather in April, and you don't want to be having to suck a calf when it's a blizzard. So as part of the calving setup, we do a fair bit of record keeping. We record birth weight of every single calf that's born. We record the calving ease, and we record the cow docility, whether she tries to attack you or whether she wants to lick you. Again, it's a labour saving, and it's a health and safety issue now that I've got a member of staff. Mothering ability, again, it's a huge labour saving. You've no idea how much time can be wasted having to suckle calves when you've got a poor mother who wants to kick it. These things just are non-negotiables for me. Calf vigour, also very important. Again, another labour saving. A vigorous calf will be up on its feet and it'll suckle, and it will also be healthier for the rest of its life. We heard earlier about the value of colostrum. So calf vigour, again, for me, is vital. Teat and other scores, that's a structural thing that we record in the cows. And again, that's on the opposite end of the spectrum when it comes to the calf suckling. You can have a vigorous calf, but if the cow's udder is on the floor, it doesn't matter. We also take DNA samples at that time as well, which allows us to get more accurate EBVs using genomics. That's another picture of the calf and the crate. So just going into the summer period, as you can hopefully see in the picture, this is our upland farm. Lots of subdivision, do quite a lot of rotational grazing, mainly in 2 to 3 day shifts with the cows and calves. We don't apply any fertiliser, we don't spray. We're not organic, but we want to be. Lots of white and red clover in the swards. I read somewhere that there's around 32,000 tonnes of atmospheric nitrogen above every acre of land. So why not use it? I'm Scottish, I'm tight. Why wouldn't you want to use it? I don't like spending money. Experimenting a little bit with tall grass grazing as well, just to find out how it works with us. We've got some light land which does burn out in the summer, and yeah, it's just interesting to see how it works. In the summertime, obviously, we're bulling. Tight calving is crucial for me to achieve my KPI targets. We're around about 90% in 2 cycles. I would like that to be slightly better, but I think as a trade-off for a very, very tight calving, I think it's reasonable. And we usually get around about 77% in the first cycle. That's what we had this year. Scott EID run a section on their website called My Herd Stats, and it allows you to get verified statistics based on your own herd. This is my calving interval for this year. 2023 was 361 days, and 3-year average 368. So that's what comes when you apply rules to your herd, and I think it has quite a big factor on my profitability. Through the summer, we're doing a lot of data collection as well, grass measuring, try and get a better picture of the capabilities of each farm. Coming on to weaning time, we don't creep feed. I'm a fully grass-based herd. Creep feed is like kryptonite for me. My creep feed is silage. So a lot of my calves are wintered on silage, and we supplement that silage to them before weaning time. And that lets them get used to the type of feed that they're going to be weaned onto, and it allows to supplement the feed in the autumn when feed is usually becoming tighter. We also use these quiet wean nose paddles, which facilitates stress-free weaning time. Again, you don't use creep feed, so we need to find a way of simplifying the job. We've cut out pneumonia vaccines, and we hardly ever get any pneumonia whatsoever. So that's a big saving again. And also it's a health issue too. At weaning time, we've got a lot of big jobs on. The whole herd basically gets assessed. The cows get their weaning weights. So the calves get their weaning weights and the cows get their mature cow weights. That allows us to build the picture of the cow to calf weaning ratio. We're obviously aiming for 50% at 200 days. At the moment, we're around about low 40s, so we've still got work to do. We also take frame scores and body condition scores of the cows. That's so we can make data-led decisions when it comes to breeding heifers, and also for our customers who buy stock from us. So in the summertime, when we've been making silage, we're laying out bales usually for our bale grazing and the fair grass winter setup. We've transferred from a mainly forage crop system to more towards the fair grass system. For me, it's more resilient, it's cheaper, and it's more reliable. We've had some mistakes and failures in the past with forage crops. It's very, very cheap. A 125-day winter for us between weaning and calving. That's how I count my winter, 72 pence per day. And that includes everything that I could think of, apart from regrassing costs. We are planning to roll out the bales next year to try and reduce some poaching around the rings. I think that's the next step in the system, and it'll mean that there's more chance that the grass won't need regrassed following the winter period. It doesn't always go to plan. We're quite high up, and we get lots of snow when it does come on. Sometimes you need to think of a plan B, but the most important thing is you need resilient cows that can deal with tough weather. I don't need cows that crumble in this situation. I need cows that stand up and be counted. So off the back of that, we need calves. Hardy calves become hardy cows. And we winter our heifer calves, our future breeding heifer calves, in exactly the same system that we run our cows on. That means we're selecting out genetics that don't work for us long before they cost us too much money. So if you've got the right system, you've got the right cow, how do you actually breed the right animal? So our herd is performance recorded, but we performance record under pressure. Completely different concept to performance recording and all you can eat buffet. We want to select out cows who cause us issues, who cost money, cost labour, or cost time. We apply selective pressure in the areas that are linked to profit most. And that, for us, that's fertility, labour, and just general complexity. For example, why would you know, a lot of the perceived wisdom is you draw out your lower body condition score cows at winter time and you supplement them and you make sure that they're getting back in calf the following year. All that does adds complexity, takes time, adds cost. Obviously, animal welfare needs to be paramount. I'm not advocating allowing cows to get thin, but constantly breeding these cows does not help anyone. It doesn't help them either. Breed choice, quite important too. You can use crossbred cows, you can use purebred cows, but the type of cow that you choose is crucial. For us, it's Angus and Stabilizer. They work for us. EBVs, also quite important. Not for everyone, but they are for me. But they're a complicated business that you need to understand. There's so many trade-offs. You can't just go full-on max on everything because you're heading for a car crash. So we've been doing a lot of recording over the last few years, and we're trying to understand our herd more and make better decisions using the data. The type of system that we run, it's important that our cows are fleshy and they can stand the winter outside. There's a clear link between frame score, body condition, and their ability to outwinter. Our average herd weight at weaning time is 649 kilos, condition score 3.4, and a frame score 7. We're pretty close to where we want to be, but we're still trying to refine the system where we can. Also trying to understand the bondsmith theories as well, if possible, but again, that's a bit of a minefield if you're new to it. We feed no concentrates to our breeding stock because they need to survive and thrive on the cheapest feed that we can produce. I've only owned 2 tractors across the 3 farms. They're 20 miles apart. That's the only reason why we've got 2. We don't grow any crops. We've got basically nothing. We just grass, cows, and quad bikes. That's it. So they need to thrive on grass. Finishing animals that are born out of these cows tend to be pretty easy finishers. And we use the data that we gather from our kill sheets and all the records to make better decisions. In our finishing system, again, going with the theme that we've got to so far, our aim is to do most of the growth when it's cheapest to do. Why would you go against this, swim against the wind, and swim against the tide, and spend money when nature is telling you to do something completely different? Compensated growth is a life hack that just seems to get forgotten. It's been on the go forever, long before any of us were in the room, but we seem to forget it, and you get told by nutritionists to feed cattle flat out all the way through to reduce your age to slaughter. So my feeling is compensated growth is completely underutilised. For instance, last year we had bull and heifers who are wintered outside, and they achieved exactly the same weight at October as the store cattle who had been inside, but they cost me far, far less, almost half the wintering cost. Bull beef, age of slaughter is a pretty topical thing. We've been talking about that quite a lot today. So we've got a conventional bull beef system up till now, but recently we've observed that our pure breeding bulls, who are 100% on forage only, they achieve carcass spec at 16 months old with absolutely no feed on a high quality legume pasture. So that led us to believe that there's a huge opportunity to completely transform our bull beef system. And this year in 2024, we're going to head towards a techno-grazing system and try and finish our bulls in 100% forage. So the outcomes of that, it still achieves a pretty short days to slaughter. It's not 12 months, not 13. It's more likely going to be 15 or 16, but it's still far, far below the industry average. And coupled with the steers and heifers who are getting finished around about 18 to 20 months, it's still pretty early and no concentrates. It hasn't happened yet, so hopefully it works. But there is risks to it as well, so I'm not gonna make too bold a claim, but we'll see how that goes. We've also been using Farmax, a tool that some of you will be aware of, to help us make data-driven decisions, and we've used it to help us in designing the bull beef system as well. So my take-home message is, first and foremost, invest time understanding your business instead of spending time. There's a difference between investing and spending. Invest time instead of spending time. Invest in flesh, but not metal. Lean and mean. System first, cow second, and apply selection pressure where it matters most. I personally believe we've heard so many different opinions today regarding technology and supplements and all various things. I personally just believe a simple system with low fixed costs, low machinery costs, low fuel use, reduced days to slaughter can be an obtainable target for most farms on the road to reducing their carbon footprint. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. And finally, there's a strong correlation between productivity, efficiency, emissions, and profit. And one last thing, you're in charge. Thank you.
So much, Duncan. We've just got, I'm conscious of time, but we do have time for a couple of questions. Do we have one in the room?
So, Bonsoma?
Bonsma, yeah.
Never heard of it, sorry.
Yeah, neither have I. So Jan Bonsma, I think he was Zimbabwean or South African, I think. Yeah, so he was a bovine sort of scientist, I think maybe early 1900s, who came across theories in terms of understanding the way, making predictions based on how a cow looks, on her ability to get in calf. I'm trying to learn it, so I'm probably not the best person to ask, but it's completely the opposite end of the spectrum from EBVs and genomics. It's old school, and it's looking at tail swirls and different things, but it's genius. And when you look at it, it seems logical too. Yeah.
Take one from online. So this person says, "What an amazing insight into your herd. Are there any metrics that you would like to capture but you currently don't?"
Yeah, well, I think eating quality would be one. I feel like our type of system that we're in would be perfectly suited to eating quality, but we don't know. And I would love to be able to know whether the beef that we produce is actually, if it actually meets the sort of specifications that we want. I do know it tastes good because we had it at our wedding and it was brilliant, but it's not very. It's quite anecdotal. But I think eating quality would be one. I think I would like to have a better understanding of basically our emissions, of some amazing stuff that we heard from John and Jason there. And I'd love to apply that to my herd. We've used AgriCalc in the past, and yeah, found it a little bit difficult to really get down to the nitty gritty. FarmAx has got a really quite interesting tool as well, so I'd love to get to know that better too.
Okay, one more quick one here. I am conscious, by the way, there's a couple more questions that have been put in online. I would encourage you to approach the speakers in the next coffee session and speak to them about those.
How do you think we can embrace or engage with the disengaged? Because, I mean, I'm very aware that I think mindset is probably our biggest barrier. So what would be your big thing for that?
Within the industry?
Within the industry. How could they be more like you? Maybe, might be my bold question.
I don't know if that's really a good thing. Well, look, we're monitor farmers. So we've got people coming onto our farm 2 or 3 times a year. Sometimes they're people who we know, we're friends, and they know what we do. And other times they're people who we've never heard of, and they're at the completely opposite end of the spectrum. And sometimes they can add really useful, points to what our debate's about. And other times we can add different points to their debate. I think that's a really good tool because it's peer-to-peer learning, and it's relatable. Usually you're on farm, you've got your wellies on, and you're walking through a field, and you can really understand it more than looking at a screen. So I think that's probably the best thing. So you're welcome to come along to meetings if you want. And I think just networking, coming to events like this. The only bias would be, I suppose, if you're very disengaged, you probably wouldn't be here. Going by the show of hands. Because I know some people who would have raised their hands to the first question, but they're not here. So I suppose just being proactive and trying to find them and help them. But at the same time, you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. You just got to get on with it.
I think that's a very fair point to finish on. Thank you so much again, Duncan.
Thank you.